The Houston Rockets just got hit with a massive blow before the season even begins. Fred VanVleet, one of their key veterans, vocal leaders, and primary initiators, is likely done for the entire year after suffering a torn ACL. It's the kind of injury that doesn't just shake up a player's future, but sends ripple effects through the whole roster. And it also highlights something that's been trending this offseason: a surprising number of big-name injuries before the season even tips off. Whether it's bad luck, overtraining, or just the demands of year-round basketball, teams are already scrambling to adjust. Now, when we talk about Fred VanVleet being out, this isn't just a second-unit piece going down. We're talking about a guy who played heavy minutes, brought experience, defensive effort, and most importantly, was tasked with running the offense, setting the tone, organizing the floor, keeping the younger guys calm and composed. Losing a guy like that doesn't just impact what you see in the box score. It changes the energy, the pace, and sometimes even the identity of a team. Now, let's be real. As much as this injury is a gut punch for Houston, it doesn't necessarily mean their season is over. The Rockets have options. They have depth. And in some ways, this might even open the door for their younger pieces to take on larger roles earlier than expected. Players like Reed Sheppard could step into the spotlight. If he turns out to be the real deal, this injury might actually accelerate Houston's evolution as a more dynamic, offensively balanced team. VanVleet has always been a solid defender, a decent shooter, and a smart playmaker, but he's not exactly irreplaceable when it comes to raw on-court production. He's more like a high-end role player than a foundational star. His value lies in intangibles: leadership, poise, being that stabilizing presence. But Houston has talent. They have size. They've got a roster full of long, athletic defenders with crazy wingspans, and guys like Alperen Sengun and Amen Thompson, who are on the verge of breaking out. They're not short on tools. The question is whether they can piece it all together without the steady hand of VanVleet guiding them. And here's where it gets interesting. With Fred out, someone like Reed Sheppard becomes even more important. He's young, but he brings something that Houston desperately needs: reliable shooting and off-ball movement. The Rockets were one of the worst shooting teams in the league last season. VanVleet was never known for being a consistent sniper from deep. He had his moments, sure, but he could be streaky. Reed, on the other hand, has the potential to space the floor and keep defenses honest, which might actually raise the ceiling of this team if he gets enough minutes and adjusts quickly. On top of that, you've got Kevin Durant now in the mix. That alone changes the equation. KD is going to shoulder a lot of the scoring load, and he's more than capable of initiating offense himself. He's played that hybrid role before: scoring, creating, drawing double teams, and letting others feed off his gravity. So, in a way, while losing VanVleet is tough, Houston isn't without options. They can shift responsibilities around. Maybe Durant becomes more of a playmaker. Maybe Amen Thompson steps up as a ball handler. Maybe Reed Sheppard breaks out as a legit floor spacer and shooter. There's a version of this team that still works, maybe even works better, depending on how quickly the pieces develop. Of course, that's all potential. The reality is that VanVleet going down creates more questions than answers. And it definitely impacts the Western Conference playoff picture. Teams like the Lakers, who are directly competing with Houston for seeding and positioning, have to take note. When a team like Houston loses a key piece, it shifts the balance. It opens the door. It forces the Rockets to either ride it out with internal development or consider a mid-season move to stay competitive. That's where the Lakers come into the conversation. Because if Houston decides that they still want to compete at a high level and need a short-term replacement for VanVleet, someone like Gabe Vincent might suddenly become very valuable. Think about it. He's a cheaper version of VanVleet in some ways. Solid defender, can bring the ball up, initiate the offense, play off ball, knock down the occasional three. And he's on an expiring deal. From Houston's perspective, that could be the perfect patch to get them through the season without tying up cap space long-term. And from the Lakers' side, this could be a subtle opportunity to leverage a surplus player into a wing or defensive piece that fits better with their needs. Now, don't get it twisted. Houston's not going to blow it all up overnight. They're not trading away their core pieces tomorrow. But depending on how the season unfolds, if Reed Shepherd plays well, if Amen Thompson blossoms, if Durant thrives in a more central role, the Rockets might feel comfortable enough to move someone to rebalance the roster. And that's where a savvy front office like the Lakers can swoop in and start sniffing around for opportunities. And let's say Houston doesn't make a move right away. That's fine. Patience is part of the game. Sometimes you let the situation breathe, let the young guys show what they can do, then reassess closer to the trade deadline. A lot of their new contracts aren't even eligible to be moved until then anyway. But if Gabe Vincent fits the bill, and if the Lakers want to get back a wing or even a backup center like Clint Capella, it's something to monitor. Maybe you throw in another asset. Maybe you get a guy like Tari Eason, someone who's athletic, plays defense, and doesn't demand the ball. There's a scenario where both teams benefit from that kind of mid-season shuffle. Of course, there's a bigger picture here, too. Every team in the league is just one injury away from having to reevaluate its entire approach. That's why the Lakers, or any contender, needs to stay flexible. Stay ready. Opportunities will pop up, and not just because of injuries. Sometimes teams underperform. Sometimes the chemistry just doesn't click. Sometimes a young guy takes a leap and makes someone else expendable. It's a long season, and the teams that adapt fastest are usually the ones still standing in May. And that's exactly why this situation in Houston could go in so many different directions. Because while losing Fred VanVleet looks like a step back on paper, it might actually push this team to discover something new. A different identity. A more modern version of themselves. The league is changing, fast, positionless, with spacing and versatility being more valuable than ever. And while Fred brought a ton of experience and poise, he also represented a more traditional approach. A steady point guard who gets guys into their sets, defends, controls tempo. But when that's taken away, sometimes what you're left with is freedom. And for young, hungry players trying to break out, that freedom can lead to something dangerous in a good way. Imagine Reed Shepherd getting full responsibility earlier than expected, being thrown into the fire and either sinking or swimming. The pressure could force him to grow quickly, and if he responds well, the Rockets may end up with a backcourt player who offers more offensive firepower and better floor spacing than VanVleet. That could change the entire shape of their lineups. You could see lineups with more athleticism, more shooting, and more pace, especially with Durant out there drawing all the attention. It's not hard to imagine a version of the Rockets that becomes more fluid, more up-tempo, and more difficult to guard, even if they lose some of the structure Fred provided. Of course, none of that is guaranteed. Young players don't always respond well to being thrown into bigger roles. The game can speed up, mistakes pile up, confidence wavers, but the Rockets are in a rare position. They've got enough talent and depth to weather the storm. And with someone like Durant in the locker room, they've got the leadership to guide the young guys through the process. Durant's presence doesn't just help on the court, it stabilizes everything. He's been through every scenario in the league. Playoffs, finals, injuries, trades, and now his voice becomes even more important in the absence of VanVleet. That's why this situation isn't just about replacing numbers. It's about replacing presence. VanVleet was the one barking orders, holding guys accountable, calming things down when they got sloppy. Now, that responsibility might shift to Durant, to Sengun, maybe even to Amen Thompson, who's shown flashes of becoming a real leader in his own right. It's these kinds of moments that force young teams to grow up fast. And sometimes that's exactly what it takes to break through. And from the Lakers' perspective, this is where it gets fascinating. Because this Rockets team, depending on how it adjusts, could end up being either a surprise threat in the West or a team that's suddenly more vulnerable. If they hold steady or even improve without VanVleet, the Lakers might find themselves having to deal with a different kind of matchup come playoff time. A younger, faster, more unpredictable Rockets squad. But if Houston struggles, if the offense sputters and the locker room misses Fred's voice, that's when things open up. That's when a team like the Lakers, sitting back and watching, can start making calls. The trade market doesn't move unless there's pressure. Right now, Houston doesn't need to do anything. But by midseason, if the chemistry is off or the losses start stacking, they may start looking at guys like Gabe Vincent as a short-term fix. And Gabe might be just the type of player who fits seamlessly into what Houston is missing. He's not flashy. He's not going to drop 30 on a given night. But he can defend. He can hit threes when needed. And more importantly, he knows how to play within a system. That's the kind of plug-and-play option a team like Houston might need to stay afloat. For the Lakers, it's about being smart. You're not trading Gabe just to move a contract. You're using him to target something you actually need, maybe a bigger wing, maybe a backup five, maybe a young piece with upside. Houston is one of those rare teams with too many bodies, too many wings, too many versatile defenders who might not all get the minutes they deserve. That's where opportunity lies. Can the Lakers capitalize on that? Can they turn a surplus into a solution? And it doesn't have to be immediate. Some of Houston's contracts can't even be moved until the trade deadline. So this is about playing the long game, seeing how things develop, staying patient while other teams start feeling the heat. The Rockets have talent, but talent without balance can lead to frustration. And when that happens, guys start becoming available. That's when the Lakers have to be ready. And not just for Houston. Around the league, injuries and underperformance will shake things up. That's why the Lakers are in a great position. They don't have to rush anything. They can let the season breathe, evaluate what's working and what's not, and then pounce when the time is right. That might mean monitoring Houston closely, seeing how Reed Shepard adjusts, watching how Amen Thompson handles more responsibility, tracking whether Durant takes on more of the playmaking or if the offense stagnates without Fred. Because here's the thing, if this injury leads to the Rockets backsliding, they might be open to bigger trades. And while it's unlikely they move a core guy like Jabari Smith or Alperen Sengun, desperation changes priorities. And if someone like Austin Reeves becomes part of the discussion, suddenly the Lakers are in position to explore even bigger deals. Reeves, for all his value, is on a team-friendly contract, which actually makes him tougher to trade in terms of salary matching. But if Houston believes they need a long-term foundational piece and are willing to move a more expensive young player, then maybe that becomes a conversation. We've seen it before. A team gets hit with an injury, thinks they can patch things up, but a few months in, the problems keep mounting. That's when the phone calls start. That's when front offices start weighing short-term fixes against long-term plans. The Lakers just need to be ready when that moment comes. Whether it's a wing, a center, or a guard, they have pieces that fit what Houston might eventually need. And let's not forget Clint Capella. If he gets restless, if his minutes get cut in favor of younger options, that's another name to watch. He'd be a perfect backup five for the Lakers. Experienced, reliable, a great rebounder and rim protector. If Houston's rotation starts pushing him out, and if they're looking for more guard depth in return, maybe that opens the door. A deal involving Capella and a wing like Tari Eason in exchange for Gabe Vincent and other pieces could work, especially if Houston is trying to pivot in the short term while Van Vliet recovers. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, whispers around Los Angeles are heating up as the Lakers reportedly shake up their roster in what could be the most talked about move of the season. Sources close to the team are hinting that RUI HACHIMURA is officially on his way out, sparking a flurry of speculation about the franchise's next steps. While the Lakers haven't confirmed every detail, insiders suggest that this is part of a bigger plan that could involve not one, but 3 trades in rapid succession. Fans at the Staples Center are buzzing with questions. Who's coming in? And what does this mean for the Lakers' ambitions this year? HACHIMURA, who arrived with high expectations and flashes of brilliance, seems poised to find a new home. But the chatter is that the Lakers are looking for immediate impact players rather than long-term projects. One league analyst noted that LA is clearly in win-now mode, hinting that the trades could bring in veterans capable of changing the dynamic of the roster overnight. The rumor mill doesn't stop there. Some insiders suggest the Lakers are exploring multiple options, juggling salary cap considerations, draft picks, and strategic alignments with other teams. Names are being tossed around in whispered conversations, though nothing is concrete yet. Fans are left speculating. Could this be the move that finally pushes the Lakers past their playoff roadblocks? Or is it a gamble that might backfire in the pressure cooker of Los Angeles expectations? Social media has exploded with reactions. Clips of HACHIMURA's highlights are circulating alongside fan-made mock-ups of potential new lineups. Lakers Twitter feeds are ablaze with excitement and concern. After all, trading a player of HACHIMURA's caliber is never simple, even if it's meant to bolster the team's chances. Rumors indicate that 2 more trades could follow soon, each designed to fill critical gaps and provide the versatility the Lakers have long sought. While nothing is set in stone, the city of Los Angeles seems ready for the shakeup. Lakers fans are holding their breath. Analysts are scrambling to predict outcomes, and HACHIMURA's departure marks the beginning of what might be one of the most dramatic roster changes in recent memory. For now, it's all speculation, but in the NBA, rumors often have a way of becoming reality faster than anyone expects. The Lakers front office appears determined to act decisively, leaving fans glued to every report, hoping the next headline will be the one that finally changes the game. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.